What if the next big problem for the auto industry isn't electric cars, batteries, or even gas prices, but engine oil? Right now, automakers and suppliers are quietly watching a growing synthetic oil supply issue that could impact everything from new car production to long-term engine reliability. And the scary part? Most drivers have no idea this is even happening. From stricter emissions rules to rising demand for turbocharged engines, the pressure on synthetic oil has never been higher. So is this just temporary panic, or the beginning of a much bigger problem for car owners across America? Stay tuned, because the answer may surprise you. For years, synthetic oil has been one of those things drivers never really had to think about. You go in for an oil change, pay a little extra for the premium stuff, and move on. But behind the scenes, automakers have become heavily dependent on synthetic oil because modern engines are more demanding than ever before. Today's turbocharged engines, hybrid systems, and high-efficiency powertrains all rely on advanced lubricants to reduce friction, improve fuel economy, and meet strict emissions regulations. That's why this growing concern over synthetic oil supply chains is starting to make people nervous across the industry. Major automakers are pushing smaller, hotter-running engines that simply can't perform properly with lower-quality conventional oils. At the same time, global demand for high-grade synthetic base oils and additives continues to rise, while production and refining have become more expensive and complicated. And this isn't just a problem for manufacturers. If supplies tighten or prices keep climbing, everyday drivers could feel the impact through more expensive maintenance, longer service wait times, and even potential reliability concerns down the road. What makes this story really interesting is how connected everything has become. One issue in the supply chain can suddenly affect dealerships, repair shops, oil brands, and millions of vehicles on the road. So in this video, we're breaking down why automakers are suddenly paying close attention to synthetic oil, what's causing the concern, and whether drivers actually need to worry about what happens next. Now here's where things start getting really interesting. Modern vehicles aren't just asking for synthetic oil anymore, they're practically built around it. Walk through any dealership today and you'll notice a pattern: smaller turbocharged engines, tighter engine bays, hybrid systems, and higher operating temperatures. Automakers are squeezing more power and efficiency out of less displacement, and synthetic oil has become the silent hero making all of that possible. Take a modern turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, for example. 10 or 15 years ago, a V6 might have handled the same workload with less stress. But now, these smaller engines are producing impressive horsepower while running hotter and under more pressure. That means oil isn't just lubricating moving parts anymore. It's helping cool components, reduce wear, prevent sludge buildup, and protect expensive turbochargers spinning at insanely high speeds. And that's where the concern starts to grow. Because synthetic oil depends on specialized base oils and advanced chemical additives that aren't easy or cheap to produce. As emission standards tighten across the US and globally, automakers are demanding even more advanced lubricants capable of surviving extreme conditions while improving fuel economy. At the same time, demand for synthetic oil has exploded as more drivers keep their cars longer and manufacturers extend oil change intervals. On the surface, everything still looks normal. Oil change shops are open, dealerships are servicing cars, and shelves are mostly stocked. But behind the scenes, suppliers have reportedly been dealing with rising production costs, transportation challenges, and increasing pressure on raw materials used in premium oil formulas. And if supply gets tighter, the ripple effects could hit hard. Imagine walking into a dealership for a routine service and finding out your specific oil grade is delayed for weeks. Or seeing maintenance costs jump because high-performance synthetic blends become significantly more expensive. For owners of trucks, sports cars, hybrids, and luxury vehicles, that could become a serious issue because many modern engines are extremely sensitive to oil quality. Some automakers are even designing engines around ultra-low viscosity oils like 0W8 and 0W16 to improve fuel economy numbers. These thinner oils help manufacturers meet strict government efficiency targets, but they also leave less room for using cheaper alternatives. In other words, modern engines are becoming more dependent on highly specialized synthetic lubricants than ever before. And visually, you can already see how aggressive modern engineering has become. Open the hood of a new performance SUV or hybrid sedan and everything is tightly packaged. Turbochargers glow with heat after hard driving, hybrid systems constantly cycle engines on and off, and cooling demands are far more intense than they used to be. Synthetic oil is one of the few things quietly holding all of that together. But here's the twist: some experts believe this may not become a full-blown shortage at all. Instead, it could turn into something even more frustrating for drivers. Rising prices, stricter oil requirements, and fewer affordable options for maintenance. And once we start looking at which brands and vehicles could be affected the most, the picture becomes even more surprising. But here's the moment where this story goes from industry concern to something that could directly affect millions of drivers. The biggest surprise isn't that synthetic oil is becoming more important. It's how dependent modern vehicles have quietly become on ultra-specific oil formulas that many drivers have never even heard of. We're talking about oils engineered for exact temperatures, exact viscosities, and exact fuel economy targets. And if manufacturers can't consistently secure those supplies, some of today's most advanced engines could face serious long-term reliability risks. Think about that for a second. A modern turbocharged SUV making over 300 horsepower from a tiny 4-cylinder engine sounds impressive until you realize that engine may rely on a very thin, highly specialized synthetic oil just to survive daily driving conditions. The same goes for hybrids constantly restarting their engines in traffic or high-performance trucks towing massive loads in extreme heat. These vehicles are operating closer to the edge than many people realize. And this is where automakers are starting to feel the pressure. Because if oil prices spike or supplies tighten, manufacturers may have to rethink maintenance schedules, warranty strategies, and even future engine designs. Some experts believe we could eventually see automakers backing away from extremely thin oil requirements simply because they're too difficult or expensive to maintain at scale. Ironically, the push for maximum efficiency may have created a new vulnerability in the automotive world. And for drivers, the impact could show up in ways people aren't expecting. Higher service costs. Fewer oil options at local shops. Longer waits for specialized maintenance. And in worst-case scenarios, owners using the wrong oil grade could end up dealing with expensive engine damage years earlier than expected. What makes this reveal so fascinating is that none of this happened overnight. The industry slowly engineered itself into a future where synthetic oil became absolutely critical, and now everyone is realizing just how dependent modern cars really are. So the big question is, should drivers actually be worried, or is this just another temporary panic that the auto industry will eventually solve? So after looking at the bigger picture, here's the real verdict. The synthetic oil situation probably isn't going to stop people from driving tomorrow, and we're not suddenly heading into some massive nationwide shutdown of vehicles. But the concern from automakers is absolutely real, because modern cars have become more dependent on advanced lubricants than ever before. The biggest strength of today's automotive technology is also becoming one of its biggest weaknesses. Smaller turbocharged engines, hybrids, and high-efficiency powertrains deliver impressive performance, better fuel economy, and lower emissions. But all of that engineering relies heavily on highly specialized synthetic oils working perfectly behind the scenes. For everyday drivers, this means maintenance matters more now than it did 10 or 20 years ago. Using the correct oil grade, sticking to service intervals, and avoiding cheap shortcuts could make a huge difference in long-term reliability. And for buyers shopping for newer vehicles, especially performance models or hybrids, understanding maintenance costs is becoming just as important as horsepower or MPG ratings. At the same time, this entire situation reveals where the industry may be heading next. Automakers are pushing engineering to extreme levels in the name of efficiency, and that could eventually force companies to rethink how far they can realistically go without creating new long-term risks for owners. The good news is that major oil suppliers and manufacturers are already adapting. New oil technologies, improved refining methods, and evolving engine designs will likely keep the industry moving forward. But this story is a reminder that even the smallest hidden component, something as simple as engine oil, can quietly become one of the most important parts of modern car ownership. And honestly, that's what makes this topic so fascinating. So now we want to hear from you. Do you think automakers are overreacting, or could synthetic oil become a bigger issue in the future? Have you noticed rising maintenance costs or stricter oil requirements with newer vehicles? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into the future of the automotive world.